Hi everyone, it's Jan with another VBA video. We had a little break. Has been some time since I've been doing something new, but I'm back here. So what are we going to do today? Today we are going to play a little bit. We are going to utilize all the knowledge that we have learned about VBA so far, and we are going to use a couple of loops and quite a few if statements, also an offset function, and as I said, we are going to play a little game. We have here the grid of letters. Each cell contains one letter, and here in the column 1 we have words, the countries in this example, and each cell contains the complete word. And the purpose of this exercise or game is to determine whether each of the country can be found in this grid of letters. And if the country is there, then we mark the country somehow as being in the grid, and if it's not there, then we mark it otherwise. Okay, so let's get straight to it. Here's our VBA code. At the beginning we are declaring a couple of variables. If you want to know more about these declarations and variables, let's follow up on my other videos. Then we are setting the worksheet, in this case, to be the worksheet 12, but here you can see the worksheet 5. This is due to using a so-called code name of the sheet here, and here on the tab that the user can change, let's say grade puzzle. Yeah, so this is the display name user can change, and this is a code name which doesn't change. If you go here to the project explorer and you find the sheet grid puzzle, in here you can see that the code name of that sheet is still sheet 12, even though we renamed the display name here as a user. So in here we are setting the worksheet on which we have our data, and if we happen to start this macro on some other sheet in this workbook, then we will activate our sheet 12. And first we're gonna set on the sheet 12 we're gonna set our range in which we have the letters that we are going to be searching in. So we are setting the range as we have declared it, the grid here as the range. We are setting the grid now to be on worksheet 12, and from A1 to G7. A1, G7. Then okay, I'm jumping a little bit ahead here. We can use this macro on however big, let's say, grid of letters, and with how many words we would like to use it. So in this case we have the words starting on the row 10 and finishing on the row 19, so it's enough if we put here to our for next loop 4x equals, and the first word it's on 10th line, and the last word is on 19th line. So that's gonna cover all of our available words that we have to search. So the macro is going to work the way that for next loop, the first one starts here and goes on all the way till the end, and all this is processing one word after the other, starting with Spain, then going to Portugal, Ireland, and so on. So here we start the loop, and then the way I approach this task is, I think that there can be many more ways how to accomplish our goal, but my way is this. I'll take first word, yeah, on row X, which is 10, and column 1. So its first word is going to be Spain, and it's going to be put in this variable called Slovo. It's in Czech, not in English. Sorry for that. But you can put anything there, basically, whatever you like. Then, as a second thing, we will extract the first letter of that word on the 10th row. Yeah? So first letter that we will extract would be S in this case. So we are going to use the function ucase, which will convert our first letter to uppercase. With the first letters, that is not a problem because they already are, but when we going to get to another letters, then those are in small caption, and here in the grid we have it in the capital caption, so we need to convert the letter to uppercase. Then the first letter of each word we are going to get by using the left function with the word as the first parameter and the amount of letters that we want to return from the left side, which is 1 as the first letter. And then the last thing, we will measure how long the complete country or the string is. Okay, so not to brag theoretically, let's start it up. And we see that our range has been set. Our for next loop has started with x equaling 10 for the first iteration. And the first word on 10th row in the first column is Spain. Then, as I said, we are taking the first letter of that word, and we are measuring how long the word is. That is going to determine the next steps in the macro below. We are going to use this variable in some other loops. Then once we have this information, then my way was to create another for next loop. This time we are going to be looping through each cell in this range here that we have set. That's why we are saying for each C as a cell in our range grid, we are going to do these operations. We are not going to have to do them all each time, but let's see how we progress further and we make decisions whether to complete the loop or exit it earlier if we done our job. So analyzing each cell in this range where we have the letters and finding out whether the cell contains our first letter of our first word. So going further down by pressing F8, this statement means that whenever the macro encounters an error, runs into error from here downwards, just ignore the error and execute another line. Why do we need to do that? You will see soon enough. So we are executing the error handling statement, one of the few, and we are analyzing whether the cell, the first cell in this range grid, contains our first letter of the first word. This cell contains the word I, so it doesn't equal to S, and it's not our cell that we need. So the macro is going to skip all this, which is in between if and if statements, and goes straight on another cell in that range. Again, analyzing what is in the cell, it's letter T, and we have letter S to find. So this is going to skip all these statements again and goes back to the loop. Okay, and analyzing another cell. The cell contains the letter A, we need letter S. So again, we are going to be skipped. And I will now break the macro on the point where the C will equal our letter, so we know how do we go further. So right now, the cell that we are analyzing contains the first letter of our first word. And if that happens, then, as you can see in this description or the comment, we have found the first letter. And now we are going to be searching for directions for our word. So we are going to be searching up, down, right, and left. And if after searching up we find the word, then we are not going to search down, right, or left, because we don't need to, and we will exit this for each loop which analyzes the cells for us. And similarly, when we don't find the word here but here, then we are not going to go right or left and so on. So we have found the first letter, and now we are going to search in 4 directions. That's why in this for where is it here? For next loop, we are going to do all these activities, and we are going to start as on the first direction, and we are going to go all the way to 4th direction, up, down, right, or left. Okay, so going further down, we are going to activate the cell which contains our first word, and you can see here that sorry, I will a little bit, yeah, so we can see the whole thing. So it had activated this cell that contains the letter S, which is the first letter of our words Spain, and now it's going to be searching for the word in each cell. So starting with an active cell, then we are checking the condition here. If the counter equals 0, then we are going to search for the word from the active cell down. If the counter equals 1, then we are going to be searching for the word from the... Okay, just hold on a moment, I need to put it right in my head myself. So we're going to start at 1, and then we are going to go up, sorry, not down. So this direction is up, I will explain later. This direction okay, sorry, this direction is down, this direction is up, this direction is to the left, and this direction, sorry, this one is to the right, and this one is to the left. I will explain as we go. So if the counter is 0, we search down. If the counter is 1, we search up. If the counter is 2, we search to the right. And if the counter is 3, we search to the left. So right now the counter is 0, so this one will be executed. Here at the beginning we declare the counter to be 0. So if it enters the loop for the first time, then it searches down. Okay, so counter is 0, so this line is going to be executed. And here we are saying, into the variable called TMP, put whatever is in active cell. It says active cell offset, so that means that it should offset the cell in memory, because we are not saying anywhere to select the offsetted cell. In memory, it should offset the cell down. Means that J is now 1, and if this -1 wasn't there, that here would be just 1. So 1 row down from an active cell, and 0 columns do not offset columns. But we have to start in the same cell as is the active cell. So for the first iteration of this loop, we are going to subtract number 1 from the iteration, and this way we are going to get 0 rows and 0, because 1 minus 1 is 0, and 0 columns, and we will stay in the active cell. So this variable on the first iteration will be filled with whatever is in the variable, which is nothing, and whatever is in basically the active cell, as I just explained. You can see right now it's empty, and if this goes through, then it now contains the letter S. This will not apply because counter is 0, so this will be skipped. Counter is not 2, so this will be skipped as well. And the counter is neither 3, so this will be skipped as well. And loop goes on again and searches for another letter of the word from the active cell down. Here we are using as the top limit of the loop, we are using the length of the word that we've measured in here to know how many letters do we need to collect in order to find the word. So right now we're going from 1 to 5 because Spain has 5 characters. So we're looking for 5 characters this time from the active cell down. So going again, J is 2. J 2 minus 1 is 1 and 0 columns. So right now it will get the letter from one cell below, and it will put it into this variable which already contains s. So it will be s and w. So going down, you see s and w. And that is going to go when j is equaling 3, then it's going to take e in here. If j is equaling 4, then it's going to take d all the way up to the j equaling 5, which is going to take 4 cells below the active row, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it will stop at e. So at the end, this variable will contain letters all the way from here to here. And I will stop it here so you could see that it's true. This variable contains all those letters. Here j equals to 6, so this loop has exceeded its stop limit and we are now out of it. Right now at this statement we are evaluating whether we already have the word when we searched from the active cell down. If we do have it, then we proceed further down. But in this case, we don't have it because our word is Spain, again in uppercase. But the variable contains the following string, so this is not equal, and we have to search another direction. So all this will be skipped because we don't have the word. Going down, yeah, so we have skipped this. We don't have the word, and we have to go back up to search another direction. So to do this, we increment counter +1, and it now equals 1. And we have to clear our variable of its current result. So next time it goes through the loop again, it can start analyzing what it finds again from the scratch. So this now equals empty string, and we are going to back to the go back to 4 directions loop. This time we have a counter that equals 1. So right now we are not going to be searching from the active cell down, but right now we are going to be searching from the active cell up. And again, the active cell up, but -1 + 1 equals 0. So for the first iteration it will stay in the same cell, and this is going to be put into the variable just the same way as before. And that goes on until it reaches the length of the word. So I will show you what it would do another iteration, and then I will run it through. But this one is important because here, if we didn't use this statement, we're gonna have a trouble. So going back again, counter equals 1, and right now at this moment we have j -2 + 1 is -1, and that means that the active cell should offset 1 row above the current active cell, which is impossible because this is the first row, it cannot go up. So I will show you what it would do if we didn't have this statement here and we haven't executed it. So let's do this way. Oh god, we can't do it as it will cancel our project, but we don't want that. Okay, so how to do it, how to show you. All right then. If that line wasn't there, so we are going to mimic this behavior by executing the line on error, go to 0, and that basically means restore the default error handling behavior, which means when there is an error, stop the procedure and display the message on the screen. Whereas this means that if this is executed, this means when there is an error, just ignore the error and go on to the another line. So by executing this line, we are going to clear this instruction because we are restoring the default error handling behavior. And I will show you what this line would do. Come on. Okay, it's the same line. So what this line would do. Yeah. So right now we are saying go from the active cell up and take the value there, but there's no cell up. So if we execute this line, then we get this error message. We can't go up basically. So that's why we need to ignore this error and go on. So once again, I'm going to clear this line and I'm going to execute this statement. And I'm going to come back up, back down to checking our condition. So now we are going up, and this time we have error handling disabled, ignoring the errors, and we still have just the letter S there and no error appearing. So going all the way through the loop, we again analyze, have we found the word? We haven't. We have the letter S. So we again skip all this. Counter is now going to become 2. And we are going to clear the variable here again. And going back to our 4 directions loop. This time we are going to be searching from the active cell to the right, and that is done by evaluating the value of the counter. The counter is not 0, is not 1, it's 2. So we are going to be searching from the active cell right. So our variable is now this, and when we go back to it, now it offsets 1 column to the right where there is a blank cell. So it's not going to put anything in that variable. And all the way to the right up till it reaches j equals 5. So again, going through the loop, evaluating the condition here. We don't have the word yet. So going back to our final direction. Now counter is 3, temp variable is empty again, and we are going to the final direction, which is from the active cell to the left. So right now we are going to get the letter S in the variable. Then we are going to get the letter A in the variable, and all the way to 1, 2, 3, 4 to the other A here in cell C1. So going out here, we see that we have this string in the variable, which is not our word, and sorry, wrong keyboard. We're skipping this. So counter now equals to 4. We are clearing the string again, and the last iteration of this four direction loop has gone through, so we are going out now. Here we clear the counter to be 0, so we could start with another letter again, the first direction, and then second, third and fourth. And in here we are again checking if we have already found the word. We haven't found it, and that means that we are carrying on with this C loop for next cell loop, which then will analyze for us the first letter of the word. So again, I'm going to go until it finds our another instance of the letter S, and it has found it. So again, we will activate it, and we are again going to our 4 directions loop. First time, as we cleared the counter to be equal to 0 down here. So we are again starting first direction from the active cell down. And you can already see here that we are going to find the word, yeah? S-P-A-I-N. So we're having a Spain here. So our first direction in this loop is going to help us. I will run it all the way through. And you see we have Spain. So when we have Spain, then in here in this loop we are going to strike through all the letters of that word. So again, starting from the first letter going to the last, and this tells us which direction we need to strike the letters through. Counter is 0, so the direction on which it has found the word was from the active cell down. So we are going to go through this loop, striking each letter after the other. Sorry, my machine got stuck for some reason. Yeah. And then we are going to strike the letter P, letter A, letter I, letter N. And we are going to exit the for loop, but this P for loop, which searches for another direction. If this wasn't here, that it would go back up looking from the active cell up. What we don't need that anymore because we have already found the word. So down, counter equals 0, and here we have to evaluate whether we have to be looking for another first letter of our word. We don't need to because we have already found it, so we can exit this for next cell loop as well. So if the variable equals to uppercase of the word, then we will exit our next C loop. Sorry, wrong keyboard. And then we go to the last part of the macro after we either found the word or exhausted all the 4 directions with all the instances of the first letter of our word, and we either found it, like in this instance, or didn't find it, and it means it's not there. So we are for the one last time evaluating the condition, because the word wouldn't have to be there at all, and this would be blank. But in this case, it is not blank, and we have found it. So if we have found it, we will put here next to the word that the word is in the grid, and we clear our variable so we can use it with another word, and we go all the back up here for another word, which is Portugal, and we repeat the entire cycle again. So I will clear all these breakpoints, and this one as well, and because I know that this one's not there, so I'm going to show you the case where the word is not there, stopping it at this line, and follow it through. So it has gone through all the instances of P as the first word of the country Portugal in this grid, and it started searching 4 directions from each instance. The first one is P, so it went this way down, which is not Portugal, this way up, which is also not Portugal, this way right, not Portugal, this way left, not Portugal. And if we have some other instance of the letter P there, yeah, this one, P, Spain. So again, down, up, left, right, no Portugal. And I don't think we have another P there, and we don't, because this is the last active cell. So this is the last letter P in this letter grid. And we can see that variable temp is empty because it didn't find the word Portugal in the grid. So next to the word Portugal, we will put that the word is not in the grid. And I will clear this last breakpoint and go through the remaining words by pressing F5, and you can see that it has done exactly the same with each word. Words Portugal and France are not there, the rest is there. So you can see if I clear the formatting, the strike throughs, let's say home, just clear formats, yeah. So you can see that Spain is here, Portugal's not there, Ireland is here, Egypt here, France not there, Denmark here, Italy here, Sweden here, Romania here, and Nigeria is here. So the macro is basically correct, finding the words if they are there. Okay, so that was a little bit of playing with a couple of for next loop nested into each other, and the offset function in here, also some error handling, and if statements using also to determine whether to get out of the loop before completing it, or if we are going to continue with the loop. So thank you for watching. I hope you found this useful. See you in the next video.